Welcome to the voice of St. Anthony Parish from Allston, Massachusetts, right here on WROL, 950 AM, 100.3 FM, and you can also hear us at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. Well, welcome to Holy Week. It is now the holiest week of the year, to be followed by Easter Sunday, which lasts 8 days. And we'll talk about that next week. That's the octave of Easter. Easter Sunday is 8 days long. So Holy Week, and now next week is Easter Sunday, which goes for 8 days. Now, one of the things we want to realize is we are now in the beginning of the Easter Triduum. It's the shortest liturgical season of the year. It lasts Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and ends at the Easter Vigil, where then, of course, we enter into Easter season. So it ends at the beginning of the Easter Vigil, and then we're in the Easter season. So this is the shortest season. Today is the Holy Thursday, where we celebrate the institution of the Eucharist. In many dioceses, as is normally the case, there is the Chrism Mass, where the ordinary, who is the bishop of the diocese, there may be several auxiliary bishops, but the one who is the official bishop of the diocese is also known as the ordinary. So the ordinary will bless the oils that'll be used throughout the year, which is the oil of the sick, the oil of catechumens, and the sacred chrism. Then, there at night at all parishes, there will be celebration of the institution of the Eucharist, and then adoration, usually until midnight. It's also the time you have the tradition of visiting the seven churches, and then the Eucharist is hidden away until, actually consumed, until Easter. And the reason is because there is no Mass on Good Friday, and you cannot have Eucharistic adoration on Good Friday because there's no sacraments, nothing celebrated on Good Friday. There are people who will instead, they will allow for a confession or something like that. But technically, you're not supposed to have any sacraments celebrated on Good Friday. So that's what's going on in the next 2 days. Tomorrow, Good Friday, is a day of fasting and abstinence. Don't be too technical with the fasting. Some people want to be super gung-ho. I'm not going to eat anything. That's not healthy. Don't do that. The late Monsignor Jonas Abib said, if you do that, who are you trying to prove what to whom? Or maybe I'll do that again. What are you trying to prove and to whom? In other words, you don't have to go this full gung-ho, because what are you trying to prove, and what are you trying to prove to the Lord? Other people will follow what the church says, which is 2 smaller meals and 1 regular size meal, and the 2 smaller meals can't be greater combined than the regular size meal. You can get lost in math. You can get lost in being obsessive on this. I always just say, maybe you have a regular breakfast if you have like a small breakfast, maybe toast and egg, maybe scrambled eggs, maybe oatmeal, whatever, and have a small lunch sandwich, maybe sandwich and soup, maybe bread and soup, something like that, and then a normal size supper, or a reverse lunch and supper, however you want to do it. But that's the way to do it. And eat nothing in between meals, because you don't want to be over technical, but you also don't want to overdo it, because if you overdo it, that can hurt you. And do keep in mind that tomorrow's a day of no meat, so just don't eat any meat. Now, this program is also used where we talk issues, and we've done that all along. We talk to authors, and we talk different issues. And last week, one of the issues that came up was a horrible story that came out of Nashville, where yet another school shooting. And there were 3 children that were shot, and then there were 3 adults that were shot, and they were all killed. They were fatally, as I understand, they were fatally wounded. So a horrible story, and obviously tragic all the way around. It's not right that someone sends someone to school and they're shot at school. Not right at all, obviously. I mean, not right is just such a simple way of expressing something that's so horrible, so it really doesn't express it to that level. If you're going to school, you should be coming home safely. That's just the way it is. But there was a bishop, I'm not going to mention his name, and it's not like I'm going to be critical or anything, but he said something that I disagreed with. And what he said, and you have to understand the full picture of what I disagreed with. I see where he's coming from, and he says, Congress, it's time to act. You know what? When you need to make a law, and you need Congress to act, that means something failed along the line. Obviously, we can say that. Now, a little bit of my history, you know I'm a veteran. You know I have been trained in weapons. They used to do this thing in the Navy, which I always get a kick out of, called FAM firing. What they do is they take you to the back of the ship and they have you shoot, get familiar. FAM firing means familiar with firing the weapon, and have you shoot the ocean. You know what? I hit the ocean every time. Amazing. That's how good of a shot I am. So anyway, that's what they would have you do. I'm well trained in weapons, and I'm going to tell you, as I have said many times in this program, I refuse to own a weapon. I don't have an FID card. I will not apply for one. I refuse to own one, and I refuse to own one for the same reason that Abraham Lincoln refused to own one. He said, I will not own a gun because I know I'm going to use it. For exactly the same reason. And I personally don't believe a priest should own a gun. Other priests in this diocese and other dioceses across the world may disagree. I know some of them do. I personally feel no way that a priest should own a gun. That's my position. Okay, so I don't own one. But I think when we turn around and we say Congress needs to act, something along the lines, especially within our department, has failed. Let me give you an example. If people say they can use a gun for self-defense, if you use a weapon against someone and you kill someone, you have to justify that death in front of the throne of God. Can you do that? We're going to talk more about that on the other side of the break. You're listening to St. Anthony Parish, the voice of St. Anthony Parish from Allston, Massachusetts. Have you told anyone else about the voice of St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, here on WROL at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and through CatholicAudiomedia.com? You realize we are a different Catholic program because we are not speaking just to Catholics.
We speak to ex-Catholics, atheists, evangelicals, and people from all different religious and non-religious backgrounds.
We do this from a Catholic perspective.
So you're not going to hear what you hear on other programs because we have a different mission serving Jesus Christ.
Tell your friends what we do here is different, and it is so that we all may experience Jesus, who sets us all free. And don't forget our website, CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can check us out. Check out our archives of the show. You can listen to the show, actually, there. And you can check out Substack and all kinds of things, CatholicAudiomedia.com. So I was saying before the break that it's important for us to understand that if we're seeing people using weapons and celebrating weapons and everything else, we as Catholics have to ask the question, where did we go wrong here? Where are we not teaching the right thing? Now, like I said, I refuse to own a weapon, and that's just where I stand. However, and as I said before the break, if you use a weapon, if you kill someone in self-defense, then when you do that, you have to realize you're going to have to justify that statement before the throne of God. So we understand that reality, and are you ready to do that? When I was in the Navy, one of the things, now this was the Navy, this was the military. When I was in the Navy and we had a security force, one of the things that they said for the security force, now obviously not for war is a little different, but for security force, you were not to kill the assailant. You were to try to stop them, and that may involve shooting them someplace where they would be stopped but not killed. And that was one of the rules that we had to follow because obviously, in light of, court and justice and everything else, in order for the person to get true justice, he has to be alive in order to experience that. So this is what we were taught. And we were obviously protecting something pretty serious. So that's one of the things. And when I hear someone say, Congress, you've got to act, one of the questions that I have to ask when I have someone from the church saying that, where did we go wrong? Now, one of the things that I also have to say, first of all, we understand the Second Amendment. Many people are afraid of the Second Amendment being taken away because they said that's step one. Once you get rid of the Second Amendment, then it's just a short step to the First Amendment, and the First Amendment protects a lot of our rights. So, yes, I do support the Second Amendment. Now, one of the reasons for for the Second Amendment. And you know who explained this very well was Jesse Ventura, former governor of Minnesota. Jesse Ventura says, remember, the Second Amendment is really not about hunting or anything else. It's really about protecting yourself and your community in case the government goes south. That's what it's for. And I remember saying this on the radio show, and then Joe Biden said it like 2 weeks later. I was like, does he listen? I don't know. But I said, you're not going to use any weapons that are going to successfully fight against the United States military. You're just not going to do that. But I do believe in the Second Amendment, but I also believe that we have to understand how we as Catholics need to teach the proper use of guns if someone should have them at all. And if you want to have a list of people who will not own a gun and you want me to put my name on that list, I'll be happy to do that. Maybe that's something we should do. That's an idea. Now that I think about it, I'll be happy to do that. There was a law that they wanted to put in where you can register because you're afraid of some kind of weakness you may have. No. That just undercut everything. If you want to say, I want to be on a list where it just made very clear I refuse to own a gun, I'll be happy to put my name on that list because it doesn't match what we believe in. We'll talk more tomorrow.
I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. If you would like to support our program, please consider a donation to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. There are several ways to consider this. One is to purchase any of our merchandise, which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. There are coffee mugs there. There's also my latest book, Encounter Christ in Your Humanity, all of which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can also donate to the show directly through either the Donate tab, also at CatholicAudiomedia.com, or by sending a donation through the U.S. Postal Service with your questions and comments at 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. That's St. Anthony Parish, 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. Finally, the best way you can support our parish is to attend Mass on Sundays at 10 o'clock and be a part of our parish. We thank you for any support you would like to give to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, the sponsoring parish for this media outreach to Catholics and other Christians in the WROL, WEZE, and podcast listening audience. In Cristo vivimos.